Dear Lisa, a long time ago you mentioned that you experienced existential terror. At one point in your life, could you talk about how you overcame it? How I overcame it? Well, the true way in which I overcame the existential terror, I like it that you pinpointed something. At one point in your life, and you talk about how you overcame it, yet when I was younger, I did go through a period of immense existential terror. Now I have to confess that that came after doing a period of a lot of LSD. So I think that the LSD played a part in that. I've had many funky and experimental and brilliant times in my life, and when I was in my mid-20s, deeply into this subject, I met somebody that used LSD to experiment spiritually, and I was like, yes please. I was a little scared at first, and I loved it. Oh my goodness, I mean, you could really go to hell on LSD, but I loved it. It was home. I knew home when I did LSD. I knew it already. Anyway, it's just beautiful. But I don't think the taking of drugs, any drugs, I tend not to take that many drugs. I occasionally have a vodka and orange, but even that I tend to steer away from because I don't think it's that good for the body. I think that the body is, you know, the temple, and putting in good food is most probably better. But if you do put in bad food, I would seriously recommend that you're very positive about it. So if I have a vodka, I'm super positive about the vodka. But in general, I think that our bodies are better off without intoxicants in them. I know I drink tea, but generally I eat very well. I even think that it's a bad idea to eat an animal that's suffered, because you're eating like cellular memory of a suffering animal. This is also my way of turning the world vegetarian and vegan. But I do think like most animals go through such trauma and suffering, and then you're putting that into your body. And everybody knows, including scientists, that trauma gets stuck in the cells of the body, and then you eat that of a cow or a chicken. So I don't think that's a good idea. But, you know, each to their own. I put a lot of things in my mouth that maybe shouldn't go in my mouth. But I don't think it's a good idea to do these because I think it's not so good for the brain. So I think that I was going through this really intense period of learning about non-duality and realizing that one side of life was empty. Empty. That there was nothing experiencing, that this was empty. It came from nowhere and goes to nowhere. And then with the use of the LSD, it actually sent me into this, like being frozen, this existential terror. I would wake up at night and just have total fear about that void, about that emptiness. And so then, what I did, what then happened? Well, I forget what your question was. Your question was, how did you overcome it? Well, basically, I stopped doing the LSD. And I attached myself to a guru. That's what I did in the practical terms. That was, so just after that, I went to see Ramesh in India, and then that's when I met my ex-boyfriend, who I then went and lived with. And even before I did that, I think it all began to calm down after I stopped taking the LSD. But I still had it, but it wasn't so intense. But also from listening to the non-duality and speaking about it and being open about it, I think that the body just relaxed into that, it stopped having the effect of making me go into terror, because it was obviously triggering the trauma of the idea of dying, of not existing. So I think through going to satsang and meeting other people and speaking with other people and then living with my ex-partner helped to deal with that. But that was the most intense feeling that I've ever felt, that existential terror. I would be frozen. It was so scary. How could I not exist? And in that I was having awakenings as well. So I don't know if that helps.